Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Amelia Scott Barrett. I am a neurologist and founder of Migraine Relief Code. And I am here today with my special guest, Dr. Calm. Dr. Calm, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, Amelia. Nice meeting you. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, to begin with, why don't you just give us a couple minutes overview of who you are, what your training is, and what you do, what you bring to the world?
Absolutely. So, I was born in India, and for the first 25 years of my life, I was brought up there. I went to med school, and then I came over to the United States for higher education. I did my master's in public health, and then I did my internal medicine residency, and soon after, I started practicing internal medicine. But what I noticed is that there is a lot of stress in people's lives, and that is directly affecting their health, not just the mental health, but also the physical health. I have seen so many patients who are stressed out where their diabetes is out of control, high blood pressure, and then they get migraines, headaches, heart attacks, strokes. And I noticed that stress has its fingerprints on almost every single organ system in our body. And I said, we got to do something about it. And fortunately, when I was doing my master's in public health, I took a course on resiliency and stress management that was offered in the graduate, catalog of courses. So, and I totally loved it. And not only just I loved it from an intellectual point of view, I was going through lots of stress at that point of time in my life, and I accidentally stumbled upon this course and some of the principles and teachings there, and that has calmed me down instantaneously. Instantaneously. It so happened that the situation was dire at that point of time, financial problems, career problems, and many other things going on. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then, as my mind was running at million miles per second, restless thoughts, when I stumbled upon some of these principles and teachings that I'm going to share with you, what happened was I felt this deep inner peace. I said, how is it possible? Nothing around me changed. The circumstances are still the same. How could I feel peaceful? But a few moments later, I started feeling joyful. I said, there may be something wrong with me. I can't be feeling joyful when my life was falling apart. So, and then I called my professor and asked her what's going on. And she said, that's totally normal. You just accessed your innate health, your inner peace and joy that you already have, that is not dependent on any external circumstances. You
And
tapped into it.
I think that is really a profound point that you're making here, that you were accessing something that was independent of your external circumstances. And I love how you said stress has its fingerprints on every organ in our body. That's so true. Of course, I see that all the time
Yeah.
in my people with migraine. So tell us a little bit more about that. I'm curious. Um, what are your thoughts about where stress comes from?
Sure. This by itself is almost a half an hour lecture, but I'm going to cut it short. So, most people think that stress comes from their external circumstances. Oh, this happened, that happened, my wife or husband or boss, And, but the truth of the matter is, those circumstances are not the true origin of stress. Stress is originating from within. What I say is, stress is a state of mind. It is a state of mind at its core. And once you get into that state of mind for whatever reason, there are three stages of stress. One is the stress state of mind, whatever that you're thinking, making you feel miserable, unhappy. And that leads to stage two, which is stress hormone release, the neurotransmitters and other hormones. that lead to stress. And the third stage is the symptoms and signs, which is like headache, nausea, vomiting, palpitation, sweating, all these things. So most people equate stress to the symptoms, but the truth of the matter is stress is a state of mind which you get into whether consciously or unconsciously.
So I think this is really profound that the stress is actually coming from your own state of mind as opposed to external circumstances because it's empowering, right? I mean, you're a doctor, I'm a doctor. We have both had conversations with people where we know that what's going on is stress in their lives. They don't see it.
Yes,
Sometimes it'll happen that
yes,
way, right? And so
yeah,
you kind of gently walk up to this. So, how's your stress? Try to
yes.
kind of bring this
Right.
idea up to the forefront that and the what I always bump up against in these circumstances is people are telling me I can't change my circumstances.
Yeah,
I cannot change my finances. I
right.
cannot change my job. I
Yeah,
cannot change my
yeah,
partner. And
yeah,
that always seems to just shut the
right,
the the door on
right.
any kind of progress because they feel so stuck in their circumstances. So that's why I think it's so important what you're saying, that it's not about changing the circumstances you find yourself in. It is about changing you. That is so much more empowering.
It is absolutely. And this is not to discount the kind of situations that we go through in life, the circumstances, and all those things, yes, of course, can be the triggers for stress. So I'm not saying those are not important. Yes, those are important. I understand. I empathize. But as long as you're giving power to them, those circumstances, you'll be stuck because there will always be something happening in life that you don't expect. So the only true way of stress management is go within. Know that stress is a state of mind that is being created from within. I'll give an example. So imagine someone is driving a car and their friend is sitting next to them. And as they're on the highway, they see an accident and there's a lot of blood, body parts, looks terrible. And you look at it and you're like, okay, bad. And then you look next to you, your friend passes out. And then you quickly wake up your friend. And then after he or she feels better, you ask what happened. I don't know. Like every time I see blood, I just pass out. I feel sweaty, palpitations, nausea. And you wonder why. Now the question is, if that stress reaction that person had is really coming from blood and body parts, then every single person on the highway, including the policemen and ambulance people, they should pass out. But they're not. You see, it is
Yeah.
very specific. This is a very drastic example, but this is very specifically about how your mind is processing information and taking it in, feeling the emotion. And that is what is leading to the stress reaction. You
Yeah.
see,
That's a
and
fantastic example. I love it. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not kidding because we know that there are doctors who pass out when they see blood. I know some of the colleagues, not just general population. So it could be some kind of conditioning that happened when they were very, very little. It could be some predisposition that they don't even know. Almost subconsciously, unconsciously, it happens to them. But the point is, once you recognize, okay, it is originating from within, whether passing out because of blood, whether you're reacting in a certain way because of the situation in your life, whatever it is that is happening, now you have the control back in your hand. And you say, you know what? I'm not going to let that happen. And I will do everything in my capacity to change it. You are more powerful, not the situation.
Yeah, yeah, you're more powerful. So, you're talking about changing your perceptions, how you view things. I feel like one of the tools that people use to try to change their inner world is meditation. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's an important tool?
Yes, Meditation is absolutely an amazing way to cut down stress, feel peaceful, and there are so many health benefits because of meditation. Previously we used to think, oh, okay, maybe it may not be, but now it is research proven. You can see on the MRI certain parts of your brain, like the emotional brain, being kind of toned down. And so that is where all the anxiety, restlessness, all that comes down. You start feeling becoming more rational, more clear in your thinking. All that is proven. So there is no doubt about it. And there are so many studies on meditation reducing your migraine headaches or heart attacks and overall health benefit in general. So it's clear. So I'm a big advocate for meditation. However, the problem is most people don't know what they're doing when they're doing meditation. That's the problem.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. That's an interesting thing that you're saying.
It's because you see, our world, the internet world, we are inundated with all this information. You see, information overload about meditation is this, meditation is that. Do this kind of meditation, that kind of meditation. Oh, not this. No, people are already confused to begin with, in this world,
Hmm.
and this is adding more confusion. What to do, what not to do. Do I even know? Am I doing it right? What should I feel within when I'm doing meditation? So actually, let us start with what is meditation. And in fact, I don't even want to use the term meditation a lot of times because there are so many misconceptions about it. I simply call it a calming technique, a practical tool that you could use to calm your mind. So, what is meditation? Meditation is attaining a state of mind where there is not even a flicker of restless thought, where your mind is totally still. That's the ultimate goal. That is when actually, yes, I have touched that. And when you get there, you will know it.
Yeah. So let's explore this a little bit more because you're busting a lot of myths here today, Dr. Calm. First of all, you said stress doesn't come where you think it comes from, and now you're telling us that meditation isn't quite what you think it is. That it's about kind of getting away from restlessness, getting to a place of stillness. Now, I think that a lot of people who are new to meditation feel like the idea is to sit down, calm your mind, and get rid of all thoughts, right? And so then I teach people meditation and they're like, but I had a thought and now I feel bad and I did it wrong. And then they're stressed out again. So tell me more about this. What do you think is the goal? Like, what are people searching for? Tell me about what that state of mind feels like that people are basically mentally rehearsing in their meditation.
Yeah, yeah. So for that, I think we need to differentiate between pre-meditation and meditation, to be honest, to make it very clear. So pre-meditation actually is you sitting there doing some kind of technique, trying to, put yourself in a comfortable position and doing all those things. And as you continue to do that, practice a technique or continue to sit still and all that, at some point of time, what happens is you suddenly feel a void, no more thoughts in your head. It's kind of they disappear as if someone has vacuumed them out. And then you feel this intense state of peace. You feel secure. You feel like nothing can really disturb you. It really doesn't matter what happens in the world. I'm happy.
So
That
I'm
is the
hearing,
state.
yeah, I'm hearing a lot of elevated emotions in
Hmm.
that peace, contentment, that sort of thing. Do you suppose that it would help people to think, all right, I am going to intentionally feel these emotions, and then the absence of thought is sort of a byproduct of that? Because I feel like when people obsess about trying to stop their thoughts, all that happens is they're more aware of their thoughts.
True, true. Because our human minds are very much used to being restless. All our lives, we are running around thinking about this, trying to do this, that, whatever it is. So our minds are habituated to restlessness. So that is first point. And meditation, as you keep practicing it more and more, what happens is that habitual restlessness turns into habitual calmness. Your mind is not anymore running here, there. You're like focused, calm, and you use thought as a tool because thought is nothing but a tool. You use it. I'm using my thoughts right now, talking to you, explaining people, yet I'm calm. You see? So it is okay to have thoughts. It is not so much about not having thoughts or having thoughts. When you need thoughts, use them. When you don't need them, put them to rest. That's what people need to learn. And meditation is a very powerful way to do that. What you cannot do by yourself, thinking about it, because the more you think about it, the more restless you get, as you said. I want to put myself in a happy state. And the moment you think about it, all the bad experiences start coming into your mind, when you are not happy. So, meditation, uh, by using certain techniques that are proven, you can bypass all these restless thoughts, all this conditioning that we are used to. You can bypass all those things, cut through them, and get to that one pointed focus, concentration, which is very essential to really deeply penetrate into that state of deep calm. That is what it is.
So, these techniques that you're talking about, is that part of your PET system or is that something different?
Yes, it is part of the PET system. What this PET system is, it was almost a decade ago. I thought about, stress is a major issue for a lot of people. And it is probably one of the biggest epidemics, if not the biggest epidemic of all time. That is what I think, because everyone is stressed. When I go to seminars, how many of you are stressed? 99% people raise their hands. There's one person who is not raising their hand, and then I tell you are a liar, and they laugh at me. Yes, I am, and they raise their hand too. So no other disease, illness has affected people, so much as stress, and yet it doesn't get as much importance. People say, yeah, do this, but not really see how much we did for COVID, right? But stress is a far bigger problem than COVID. So now I said, if we are dealing with an epidemic, a global epidemic of this size, then the solution must be very simple. Very simple. Because if we give complex solutions, people are not going to follow them. So, and then I designed this PET system, which comprises of three principles, two relaxation exercises, one calming technique. And what I say is, even if you practice 15 to 20 minutes a day of this system, most of your stress, I dare say 80 to 90% of your stress can be taken care of.
Wow,
And
that's a
that is
high
huge.
percent. Tell us more about
High
this.
percent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to our discussion about meditation and thoughts a little bit, because it is related to the system again, you don't need to feel guilty that you're having all these thoughts. It is totally okay. Because in your mind, thoughts flow continuously. Let me give you an example. Per day, you have 50 to 70,000 thoughts that run through your mind. Those are so many thoughts, right? Because just thoughts flow continuously like water flows continuously in the river. Thoughts flow continuously in your mind like water flows continuously in a river. Now, this is what you need to remember. As long as the thoughts are flowing freely in your mind, you will be naturally peaceful and joyful. That is a natural state. The moment there is stagnation of thoughts, you feel stressed, miserable, unhappy. Like, for example, the moment there is stagnation of water, there is a dam, there is something that's blocking the water flow. And the previously healthy river water all of a sudden becomes foul smelling, not drinkable anymore. The same way, when you create the dam in your mind that is blocking the flow of thoughts, you feel unhappy, you feel miserable because what happened is how the dam formed in your mind is you start thinking about something bad that happened. Your boss said something 2 weeks ago, the boss already forgot about it, but you didn't. You keep repeating that in your head. Or you're worried about something in the future, and then you keep repeating that in your head. You start imagining the most, you know, fearful future. And as you do that, all that is going to make your thoughts accumulate. You're stuck on that. And you create that state in your mind. And often this happens unconsciously. Most people have no clue. This happens unconsciously.
Yeah, you're bringing attention to a very interesting thought here that it is really the stagnation of thoughts, the repetitive thoughts that are the problem. It's not getting rid of all thoughts and, as a
Mm,
global thing, but working on the places where you're stuck. That's what is more important. Yeah, I have not heard that perspective on it before. That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and that is how we actually differentiate acute stress from chronic stress. So, if you go into the definitions of acute stress versus chronic stress, acute stress is a normal physiological response that we all have, and it's a protective response supposed to help us. Some illness, some threat, or tiger, or bear, if it is, old times,
Uh-huh.
hundreds and thousands of years ago. So it gives you the fight or flight response so that, your body adapts to that situation and can fight it or run away. Now, in this modern world, though, we don't have any more tigers or lions in our lives. Our constant companions now are psychological stressors constantly. And those are the tigers in life. What I call it is the psychological stress tigers in our life: anxiety, worry, fear, this, that, whatever it is. And what happens is we are turning that acute stress into chronic stress. Chronic stress is pathological and it results from a repetitive thinking program in your mind that is dysfunctional. Let me give you an example. Imagine a zebra being hunted down by a lion in African savannas. And the zebra escapes, let's say. After that, maybe in 45 minutes or so, it comes back to its natural state, moves on, grazes, mixes with the herd, and done. But if the same thing happens to you as a human being, let's say you went on an African safari tour and then you got down the bus and strayed away from the rest of the tourists, and then all of a sudden you see a lion there, you freeze. That's it. Sweating, palpitations, you can't move, and the lion is ready to attack. That's it, done. You close your eyes, and all of a sudden you hear a gunshot from your tour guide, and the lion runs away from there, listening to the sound. And you are brought back to the bus, totally exhausted. And in the next 30 to 45 minutes, probably your body is going to slow down and you feel better. But is your mind going to slow down? No. You keep thinking about what happened. And not only that, everyone gathers around you and asks you what happened. And you tell them the story. And you do that the whole day. By the end of the day, you feel so tired. You go to sleep. In the middle of the night, you wake up, nightmares as if the lion is attacking you. And it's like, this is a terrible trip. I never want to go to Africa again. So you go back to your country and then you continue the story by telling it everyone at gym, at office, and 3 months later you still feel like you're being attacked by the lion. You wake up every night with nightmares. Now you got PTSD. You see. So what's happening with human beings compared to animals is we human beings have a tendency to turn acute stress into chronic stress by not letting go of that event from our minds. We
Mm,
either get attached to the past memory or imagine a fearful future and repeat these negative thoughts in our mind like a stuck CD. It is just, revolving constantly.
mhm. So
And
it
that's the
almost
reason for chronic stress.
Yeah, it almost sounds like we have a choice with our minds. We can either repeat the negative events of our past, or we can focus on positive emotions, joy, clarity, peace, and whatever it is that we're repeating, that is how we are going to sculpt the brain. We are creating the forces that sculpt our own brains by what we choose to think about, either rehearsing those negative events of the past or rehearsing potential, the positive aspects of the moment. And then you sort of end up with the brain that is the result of that choice that you've made. Sounds like that's what you're saying, right?
That's profound what you said. Yes. That your brain is a result of what you're thinking constantly. It is not the other way around. Of course, they both interact. What you are thinking and how it affects your brain, and what is your brain structurally, and how it affects your thinking. It's a simultaneous process that's going on, but you do have a choice. That's the whole point about this. And you need to break that chronic stress cycle. You need to break the link between that acute stress and chronic stress and take away that chronic stress. And that is what I teach. Like, how do you break it? Break it, break the cycle, come out of it. You retain the acute stress, the physiological normal response that is good for you when it is needed. But break away completely from that psychological stress that you're experiencing all your life for one reason or another. And when you do that, oh, I am free now. It really doesn't matter what you think of me. It really doesn't matter what someone is posting on social media, so happy. Oh my God, my life is so bad. Comparison. A lot of people live in that social media world right now. And even the real life circumstances, financially, I'm not doing good. This, I'm not doing good. But you don't have to give power to all those things. That's the point. If you can access your innate health, what I call your inner state of peace and joy that is waiting for you within, it's like an ocean within. And if you can access it, then the surface waves, all those things, the circumstances of life stop affecting you much. Yeah, once in a while, there may be a big tsunami. It will affect you. But from a day-to-day perspective, you're not anymore bothered by that. Okay, I'm happy as I am. So how does it matter if I have $1 million or just a little bit of money? Of course, I'm not telling you to ignore your financial needs, your physiological needs. All those need to be met. There is no doubt about it. You know, you don't need to be poor. But also, it doesn't mean that you need $1 million before you can be really happy.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Kalm, you've busted another myth here today. When you started talking about the difference between acute and chronic stress, I thought you were going to say like a short term event versus a long term event, like long term events cause chronic stress, maybe related to job or partner or whatever.
Yeah,
You busted that myth again, too, by pointing out that it's really our own repetition of that event that creates the chronic stress. Interesting. It's an interesting take on it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
yeah, and you brought an important point too. Not to undermine the effect of the chronic stresses in our life. If you're in a bad relationship, an abusive relationship, um, if there is something like chronic pain in your life, like migraine or something else, I mean, all those things do have real effect on our brain and our mindset. There is no doubt about it. But even then, what I'm saying is by giving power to those things, you're making yourself powerless. But if you start taking that power into your hands, you slowly chip away those events in your life and make them powerless.
Mm,
You
mhm.
know, I think that it's a shift in the way that we think that is important more than anything else. That is going to set the direction because you say this is causing problem, this is causing problem, you're going to go down and sink deep into the pit of misery. But you're saying, you know what, the problem is there, but it's my perception and what I do or what I not do, that is what is going to help me. Then you're going to slowly come out of that pit of misery and finally overcome that problem. And it may be a long, arduous process sometimes, because we have problems in life, whether we want it or not, and that happens. And there is a whole complete discussion why and all that. But it is how we are tackling it ultimately. But it is
Right.
not simply how we are tackling it. What do you know that will help you tackle the right way? That is what the PET system is about.
Yeah, that sounds so helpful. And if people want to find out more about your work, how can they do that?
Um, well, they can simply type in my name, Dr. Calm. Well, my name is Kiran Dintiala. I'm a physician, author, speaker. I got this name from, there's a big story how it happened, but that's my brand now. So if you type in simply my name, Dr. Kiran Dintiala, or simply type in Dr. Khan, you'll find me on Google. Or you can go to my website, drcalm.world, drcalm.world. And there are a bunch of books that I have written. There are lots of videos on my website that are free. You could use it. And there is a webinar, what is called happiness therapy. It is a 30-minute powerful video that you could use it right now. And there's so much more information. You can always email me also at stressfreerevolution@gmail.com. And I'm here to help.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And I just wanted to say that one more time, drcalm.world/webinars, drcalm.world/webinars for more information. And Dr. Calm, thank you so much for being here with us today. I so much appreciate you sharing your myth busting wisdom about stress and what to do about it.
Dr. Barrett, I really appreciate you. We had such a great interaction. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. And I know you yourself are an expert in migraine and you advocate for calm in people's lives, whether by meditating or doing something else. And thanks so much for doing all the things that you're doing to help patients and the people in this world. There are more people needed like you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.